Modern insulation costs a lot, but houses still feel cold. The Inuit live in freezing places and stay warm without using it at all. No machines, no foam, nothing modern. What they do is smart, simple, and it works. Most people don't know about it, but they should. It all starts with something most of us don't take seriously: the igloo. When most of us think about igloos, we picture basic snow houses where people huddle together, shivering in the Arctic cold. But that image couldn't be further from the truth. Igloos are actually incredible insulation machines that put our modern home insulation to shame. Let's get one thing straight right away. Igloos aren't cold inside. When built correctly, they're surprisingly warm, comfortable shelters. In fact, the interior of a properly constructed igloo can reach temperatures of over 60 degrees Fahrenheit, while the outside air plummets to -40. That's a temperature difference your fancy house could only achieve if you stapled your electric bill directly to your wallet. The secret to this remarkable insulation isn't complex technology or expensive materials. It's all about the snow itself. But not just any snow. Inuit builders specifically select wind-packed snow for their igloos. This isn't your fluffy, make-a-snowman variety. Wind-packed snow has been naturally compressed by Arctic winds, creating a dense material filled with tiny air pockets. These microscopic air pockets are the real heroes of the story. Each one acts like a tiny thermos, trapping heat and preventing it from escaping. While we're spending thousands on fancy insulation, the Inuit are basically using free-frozen air bubbles that work better than our overpriced pink fluff. When someone lives inside an igloo, their body heat becomes the heating system. As they breathe, move, and cook, that heat gets captured by those millions of air pockets in the compressed snow walls. The heat doesn't escape because the dense snow blocks stop airflow while trapping warmth within their structure. Research has shown that in traditional igloos, the snow blocks used for construction contain roughly 95% trapped air. This makes them nearly as effective as modern insulation materials in terms of R value, which is how insulation effectiveness is measured. The average igloo wall has an R value between 7 and 9 per inch of thickness, similar to fiberglass used in modern homes. The dome shape of the igloo also plays a crucial role in its insulation properties. As warm air rises inside the structure, it circulates around the curved ceiling instead of collecting in corners, creating a consistent temperature throughout the living space. Your square house is basically a heat-wasting machine designed by someone who never had to pay a winter heating bill. Another fascinating aspect of igloo insulation is how it actually improves over time when occupied. As people live inside, their breath creates a thin layer of ice on the interior walls. This ice layer further seals any tiny gaps and adds another barrier against cold air infiltration. It's like the world's first self-improving house that gets better the more you breathe in it. Unlike your basement that just gets mustier, the entrance tunnel to an igloo drops below the main living area, creating a cold air trap. Since cold air is heavier than warm air, it naturally sinks and stays in this lower entrance area, preventing it from flowing up into the main living space. This simple physics trick keeps warm air where it belongs, inside with the people. Traditional Inuit knowledge passed down through generations has perfected these techniques through centuries of trial and error in one of Earth's harshest environments. Without fancy measuring tools or modern engineering, they developed a shelter system that outperforms many aspects of contemporary housing in extreme conditions. And the best part? When spring arrives and the igloo is no longer needed, it simply melts back into the environment, leaving no waste behind. Try getting that kind of eco-friendly performance from your synthetic home insulation that will still be sitting in a landfill when your great-grandkids have great-grandkids. What makes these snow shelters truly remarkable is the attention to detail that goes into their construction. While modern builders might slap up walls and call it a day, Inuit builders know that true insulation comes from attention to detail. Every single gap between snow blocks becomes a mission to complete. This next stage might seem small compared to building the entire structure, but it's actually just as important. Without it, all that carefully selected snow would be nearly useless against the brutal Arctic winds. Drafts are the enemy of warmth, and in temperatures that can kill in minutes, leaving even tiny cracks unsealed isn't an option. The process begins immediately after the last block is placed. The builder examines every seam between blocks, looking for any spot where air might pass through. Then comes the meticulous filling work. Soft snow is gathered and packed into each gap by hand, pressed firmly until it creates a seamless surface. This snow acts like mortar between bricks, except it's more forgiving and can be shaped to fill irregular spaces. Your house might have weather stripping that you replace every few years when you notice your heating bill climbing. Meanwhile, Inuit builders are out there handcrafting custom seals for every single crack in their homes. The snow used for this gap filling isn't the same as the blocks. It's lighter and fluffier, which makes it perfect for molding into small spaces. As this snow compresses, it bonds with the edges of the blocks, creating what's essentially a single solid structure. Over time, the entire igloo fuses together into one cohesive dome. In particularly cold or windy conditions, an additional step might be taken. Water can be splashed onto the exterior seams where it freezes almost instantly, creating ice seals that are completely windproof. This ice reinforcement turns the entire structure into something closer to a single piece of sculpted ice than a collection of blocks. Studies of traditional Arctic building techniques have found that this crack sealing process can improve insulation effectiveness by up to 30% compared to unsealed structures. That's the difference between surviving comfortably and freezing during long winter nights. The tools for this delicate work are remarkably simple. Hands sometimes covered in thick mittens and occasionally small bone or ivory implements for reaching difficult spots. There's no caulk gun, no expanding foam in a can, no specialized equipment at all. Just generations of knowledge about how snow behaves and how to manipulate it perfectly. What makes this technique particularly impressive is how it works with the natural properties of snow rather than against them. Modern insulation tries to block air movement entirely, which can lead to moisture problems and mold. The packed snow method allows minimal but controlled airflow, just enough to prevent humidity buildup from breathing and cooking, but not enough to create uncomfortable drafts. Your modern house needs expensive ventilation systems and dehumidifiers, but an igloo manages air quality with nothing but carefully packed snow. Maybe we should rename smart homes to not as smart as igloos homes. The time investment in this sealing process is substantial. It can take several additional hours after the main construction is complete. But in the Arctic, this time is considered essential, not optional. The difference between a properly sealed igloo and a hastily finished one could literally be life or death. When you run your hand along the interior wall of a finished igloo, what you feel isn't a collection of blocks with gaps between them. It's a smooth, continuous surface, almost like the inside of an eggshell. This uniformity is achieved entirely through the patient, methodical process of finding and filling every potential draft point. Most impressively, this sealing technique works with the natural tendency of snow to settle and compact over time. As the structure ages, it doesn't develop new cracks. Instead, it often becomes even more solid and draft-free. The initial hand packing creates a foundation for this long-term strengthening process. The result is a shelter that can withstand howling winds without letting in even the slightest breeze. Inside, even without any additional heat source, the temperature remains stable and survivable. While we struggle with expensive weatherization for our homes, the Inuit solution to drafts proves that sometimes the most elegant answer is also the most hands-on. Modern construction crews could take notes, but they'd probably need waterproof paper in an igloo, but sealing cracks is just one piece of the Arctic survival puzzle. The interior design of these snow shelters contains just as much ingenuity as their construction. Step inside a traditional igloo and you'll notice something unusual right away. The beds aren't on the floor. Instead, they're raised up on platforms made from blocks of snow. This might seem strange. Wouldn't you want to get away from snow when trying to stay warm? Your first instinct might be to add more distance between yourself and the frozen stuff, not to make furniture out of it. But this clever design proves Inuit builders understood physics long before modern science gave it fancy names. Cold air sinks because it's heavier than warm air. By building raised sleeping platforms, typically 18 inches to 2 feet high, Inuit create a cold air trap at floor level while people sleep comfortably above it. Temperature measurements inside traditional igloos have found that the air at floor level might hover around 32 degrees Fahrenheit, While just 2 feet higher at platform level, it can reach a relatively toasty 50 degrees. That's like the difference between your refrigerator and your living room, achieved with zero electricity bills. The raised platforms are just the foundation of this brilliant sleep system. The real magic happens with what goes on top: caribou hides, nature's premium insulation material. Unlike most animal fur, caribou hair is hollow. Each strand is essentially a tiny air tube, creating millions of insulating pockets throughout the fur. Modern sleeping bag companies spend millions developing synthetic materials to trap heat, while caribou have been walking around wearing the perfect insulation since the Ice Age. These hollow hairs give caribou hides another major advantage. They don't collect moisture from sweat or breath. Since moisture is warmth's arch nemesis in cold environments, this wicking property keeps sleepers dry and comfortable all night. Multiple hides are layered strategically, with some placed fur side down for softness and others fur side up for warmth. Studies show this arrangement provides insulation equivalent to a modern sleeping bag rated for -20 degrees Fahrenheit. It's like sleeping on a firm cloud that actually respects your toes. No cold spots, no midnight blanket wars, just blissful warmth while the Arctic wind howls outside. The resourcefulness continues with how different parts of the hide serve different purposes. Thicker back sections might form the base layer, while softer belly fur creates top layers. Nothing is wasted. Families often sleep together on these platforms, adding warmth through shared body heat. The entire system is also portable. When it's time to move, the furs roll up easily for transport. Try stuffing your memory foam mattress into a sled and you'll quickly appreciate the genius of this design. The ingenuity of Inuit survival extends far beyond just where they sleep. Most of us see clothing and housing as completely separate things. For the Inuit, though, their clothing isn't fashion. It's mobile insulation that works on the same principles as their igloos. Traditional Inuit parkas weren't designed by companies trying to sell you a new style each winter. They're the result of thousands of years of refinement in a place where getting it wrong means freezing to death. No Fashion Week runway ever featured models who die if the outfit didn't actually work. The genius starts with a dual-layer system that puts our modern waterproof breathable gear to shame. The outer layer usually features water-resistant materials like seal skin with fur facing outward to block wind and shed moisture. The inner layer, typically caribou hide with fur facing inward, creates a pocket of warm air right next to the skin. Just like in their sleeping platforms, caribou fur with its hollow hairs traps body heat in millions of tiny air pockets. Research shows this natural insulation maintains a layer of 50-degree air next to the skin even when outside temperatures hit -30. Your coat has 30 zippers and still lets in the breeze. Their coat has none and works better. What really sets Inuit clothing apart is how it eliminates every possible gap. Modern jackets might have adjustable cuffs and hoods, but they still leak warm air. Inuit garments create complete seals at critical points like wrists, ankles, and around the face. Their mittens aren't separate accessories. They're often directly attached to sleeves, eliminating that annoying gap where cold air always sneaks in. Even the stitching plays a role. Sinew thread naturally expands when wet and contracts when dry, creating self-adjusting waterproof seals. Modern waterproof clothing uses chemicals that wash off over time. Inuit waterproofing actually gets better the more you use it. The hood design includes a ruff made from wolverine, wolf, or dog fur surrounding the face. This fur doesn't frost up from breathing like synthetic materials do, and it creates a microclimate that protects against frostbite even in the harshest conditions. Women's parkas include an extra-large hood and built-in back pouch specifically designed for carrying children, keeping them warm against their mother's body. This baby carrying system maintains the child's temperature using shared warmth while leaving mom's hands free for work. The entire system brilliantly balances two opposite needs, blocking wind completely while allowing enough airflow to prevent overheating and moisture buildup from sweat. When active, body heat pushes moisture outward through the fur, but when still, the insulating properties focus on heat retention. Our modern coats are either too hot when active or too cold when still. Somehow, with just animal skins and sinew thread, Inuit clothing solved problems our high-tech fabrics still struggle with. But even the best insulated clothing needs a heat source, especially for cooking food and drying damp gear. The Inuit solution? An ingenious device that provides warmth without melting their home away. Living in a snow house presents an obvious challenge. How do you have a fire without melting your walls? The Inuit solved this problem thousands of years ago with an elegant solution called the quulic. The quulic isn't your typical campfire. It's a shallow, crescent-shaped stone lamp, usually carved from soapstone. This simple device provides light, heat, and a cooking surface without turning your igloo into the world's shortest-lived sauna. Your modern fireplace has one job, heating, and still manages to waste most of that heat up the chimney. Meanwhile, this ancient stone lamp multitasks better than your smartphone. What makes the quulic truly remarkable is its fuel source, seal or whale fat. This fuel choice is perfectly adapted to the Arctic environment where trees don't grow, but marine mammals are plentiful. The fat sits in the shallow depression of the stone, with a wick made from Arctic cotton grass or moss running along the edge. When lit, the quulic produces a controlled, stable flame that gives off just enough heat for cooking and warming without damaging the snow walls. Temperature tests have shown that a properly maintained quulic can raise the interior temperature of an igloo by 10 to 15 degrees without causing any structural damage. The key to its success is efficiency. Unlike open fires that send most heat skyward, the quulic's flame is low and controlled. The stone absorbs heat and radiates it evenly throughout the space. A well-maintained quulic can burn for hours on just a small amount of fat, up to 5 times more efficient than a candle in terms of light and heat output. Modern homes need separate systems for heating, cooking, and drying clothes. The quulic handles all 3 jobs with 0 electricity and 0 instruction manuals to lose. The placement is strategic too. Sitting low to the ground, it allows heat to rise naturally and distribute throughout the igloo. This takes advantage of convection currents that circulate warm air without creating hotspots that could damage the snow roof. The smoke management is equally clever. Without a chimney, you might expect problems, but the quulic produces minimal smoke when properly maintained. What little smoke is produced rises to the top of the dome where small ventilation holes can be poked through the roof. Learning to manage a quulic properly is an important skill passed down through generations. The wick must be trimmed regularly to control the flame size. Too large a flame wastes fuel. Too small doesn't provide enough heat. Different animals produce fat with different burning properties, with seal blubber prized for its clean burning qualities. The design has remained largely unchanged for at least 4,000 years, a testament to its perfect adaptation to Arctic conditions. Archaeological findings show only minor variations in size and shape across millennia. We're on our 5th iPhone in a decade, while the quulic design has remained basically unchanged for 4,000 years. Maybe planned obsolescence isn't always the best business model. Beyond its practical functions, the quulic takes on cultural significance as the heart of the home. Traditional stories are shared around its light, and its warm glow creates a gathering place for family and community. But efficient heating is just one part of the Inuit insulation system. Another stroke of genius in their design tackles a problem every homeowner knows well. Igloos don't have swinging doors. They use tunnels. It's not because Inuit builders couldn't figure out how to make a door, it's because they figured out something much better. Unlike our homes with doors that open directly into living spaces, igloos have entrance tunnels that dip down below the main living area before coming back up inside. This U-shaped passage uses a simple fact of physics. Cold air is heavier than warm air, so it sinks to the lowest point available. While we're fighting drafts with weather stripping, the Inuit designed a system that uses gravity as a bouncer, telling cold air, "Sorry, you're not on the VIP list for this igloo." When someone enters an igloo, any cold air that comes in with them falls into this natural trap, while warm air stays safely at the top of the dome. Temperature measurements have shown that this simple design can maintain a 20-degree difference between the main living area and the entrance tunnel. The tunnel is typically between 4 and 6 feet in length and only large enough for one person to crawl through at a time. This limited size minimizes heat loss and reduces the amount of snow needed for construction. After entering, a snow block is used to seal the tunnel, working like a plug that prevents any air exchange. It's like putting your cold air in the basement where it belongs. rather than letting it wander through your living room like an uninvited relative. Igloos are built with the tunnel entrance facing away from prevailing winds to prevent snow blockage. This smart positioning reduces the force of cold air trying to push into the structure and keeps the entrance clear for use. The entrance tunnel also serves as a transition space where snow can be brushed off clothing before entering the main living area. This helps keep the interior dry, which is crucial when dampness can quickly become dangerous in sub-zero temperatures. Studies of traditional Arctic building techniques have found these entrance designs can reduce heat loss by up to 40% compared to direct entrances. Modern passive house designs are now incorporating similar principles, creating thermal buffers between indoor and outdoor spaces, basically reinventing what the Inuit figured out centuries ago. This elegant solution uses no electricity, no moving parts, and no complex mechanisms, just a perfect understanding of how air behaves. But the clever design features of an igloo don't end with its entrance. Igloos aren't cubes, they're domes. This isn't just an artistic choice. The dome shape is what makes igloos such effective shelters in extreme cold. As warm air rises inside, it follows the curve of the dome, circling around the entire living space instead of collecting in useless corners. Your square house with its 90-degree corners is basically a heat-hoarding villain that traps warmth where no one can enjoy it. It's like having a savings account you can never withdraw from. Domes are also incredibly strong against wind and snow. The curved surface lets Arctic winds flow around the structure rather than slamming into flat walls, reducing heat loss and preventing damage. Modern architects charge extra for aerodynamic design, while Inuit builders were doing it with snow blocks before anyone invented the term. Traditional igloos are small and compact, typically 10 to 12 feet across. This limited size means less space to heat and fewer snow blocks needed for construction. McMansions would never survive in the Arctic. Turns out bigger isn't always better, despite what those home renovation shows keep telling us. Igloos are often built with their entrances away from prevailing winds, preventing snow blockage and reducing cold air pressure. It's like positioning your front door away from where your mother-in-law usually parks. From curved walls to compact design, every aspect of an igloo shape creates a shelter that defeats the cold using nothing but frozen water.